Shocking evidence. DNA. SCOTA, the mother of Scotland, was the eldest daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Links to the Irish and the Scottish from DNA evidence. Evidence that the Europeans and the Scottish and the Irish were of Egyptian descent. In this case, evidence of SCOTA, the mother of Scotland, being the eldest daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti of Egypt. Akhenaten being the Pharaoh of Egypt, of course. Used successively for centuries by European monarchs in their enthronement for centuries. You see here the throne on the left. The stone of destiny is right under there, under the seat. It was transported to Ireland by Princess SCOTA, known best as Meritaten, the eldest daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. She fled from Egypt after her father was overthrown in 1335 BC. SCOTA is the mother of Scotland and the daughter of a pharaoh. Scottish legend has it that SCOTA was a woman, a daughter of an Egyptian pharaoh, and the wife of a Greek prince, whose story may be based on actual evidence and events as borne out by DNA evidence, legend and sources from medieval documents. Before there were written records, there was oral tradition, handed down from generation to generation. And there's a story of SCOTA, a woman who was brought to Scotland, and now we have scientific methods that can actually prove that there's something in that legend. So Scottish historians in the 14th and 15th centuries recorded versions of the history of the early Scots. The chronicles of the Scottish people in the 14th century wrote of the Scotochronicon, expanding work on version of legends of SCOTA coming from works based on oral traditions and earlier sources that probably no longer existed. And the story of SCOTA is that there was a Greek prince named Gaithelos, who is called Goidel Glass in Irish, in Gaelic. And as quite often is the story, the royal prince was not given any position of power by his father. Gaithelos, the Greek prince, being angry, caused much destruction and trouble in his father's kingdom and gathered his own army. Thus his father forced him into exile. And Gaithelos sailed across Mediterranean to Egypt, where the pharaoh Chenkres was in a struggle to drive the Ethiopians out of his land. The Ethiopians had a powerful kingdom to the south and at various times had ruled parts of Egypt. Gaithelos joined his army with that of the pharaoh during the fight, and together they pushed the Ethiopians out of Egypt. Gaithelos formed another alliance with Chenkres to help keep the children of Israel in bondage. So in order to repay Gaithelos' loyalty, bravery, and strength, Chenkres gave Gaithelos his daughter SCOTA in marriage. Let's also remember that Moses was the prince of Egypt and he was the prince of Ethiopia before he became the leader of the tribes of Israel. The Scotichronicon records tell us that Chencres was the Pharaoh of Egypt who died when the Red Sea parted, as he was chasing the children of Israel under the leadership of Moses. So Chencres is a pharaoh that died in the Red Sea. Gaetelus was viewed as Chencres, the pharaoh who died in the Red Sea, and after some political turmoil, he again was sent to exile. He formed an army, and together with his people in exile, the people proclaimed Gaetelus their king and called themselves Scots after their queen. But there was no kingdom for them to rule. They wandered the desert for years until Gaetelus took his family and his tribe of Scots and sailed from Africa to the Iberian Peninsula, present-day Spain and Portugal. And that's where they settled in a peninsula called Briganica, today the autonomous province of Galicia, Spain. SCOTA gave birth to a son named Hyber, and it was said that the old name for Ireland was Hibernia, coming from this son, Hibernia. The descendants of the Scots lived in the Iberian Peninsula for many generations in a state of perpetual war with the Iberian tribes. Some of them sailed across to the Bay of Biscay in search for a new place to live, and they settled in Ireland. They established a home in Scotland in the area that comprises Argyll. After the time of the Romans, the people in the area were called Scoti, and ultimately that became the name of the country in the north of Britain. It was called Scotland. Another version of the legend of the Irish record, called the Liber Gabhala Book of Invasions, and the chronicle was written by monks in the 11th century of Ireland to rationalize the existence of Gauls in Ireland. In this version of the legend, the ancestor of the Gauls was a Scythian king named Pharsa. Scythia was located in the Black Sea, which is now eastern Ukraine. Pharsa lost his throne and escaped to Egypt, and his son Niall married the daughter of the Pharaoh and had a son named Godel. And the family refused to participate in the persecution of the children of Israel and was banished from Egypt, wandering throughout Africa, eventually sailing the Straits of Gibraltar into Iberia. Among the descendants of Pharsa was a man named Mil, also known as Milesius, Mil Espain, or the soldier of Spain. Mil's nephew had been killed in Ireland, and Mills departed Spain on an expedition to avenge the death, bringing his wife Scota with him. Both Mil and Scota were killed in the fight, leaving their three sons, Eber, Erimon, and Amergan, to complete the quest of Ireland. The Gaels considered Scota to be their ancestral mother and called themselves the Scots for that reason. Now, regardless of what the different legends were, one obvious similarity was the voyage from Iberia to Ireland. Recently, there have been advances in science of DNA collection and analysis, and they've allowed scientists to reevaluate ancient myths and legends. Dr. Brian Skies specializes in the study of DNA, and he's applied it to the history of the human race. He says that since April 2000, he utilizes his laboratory to explore the genetic roots of the people of the British Isles and Japan, and he discovered DNA could be categorized into 7 groups. He calls these women the 7 daughters of Eve, and he's named the clan mothers Helena, Tara, Jasmine, Xenia, Velda, Catherine, Ursula. Skies found that 95% of the Europeans could be traced back to these ancient clan mothers. Through mutations determined that these women lived anywhere from 45,000 to 17,000 years ago. And tracking the clan mother's DNA, verified the ancestors of the Irish came from the Iberian Peninsula. There was a correlation of direct similar DNA among men in Ireland, and surveys of Y chromosome among the Basques of northern Spain and the peoples of Galicia in northwestern Spain and Portugal. It seems that there was a gradual colonization of western part of Scotland from Irish kingdom of Daireata during the first half of the first millennium AD. So, there is a kernel of truth in the legends that the people of SCOTA and the people of her tribe is confirmed by scientific evidence. Also, there's a Scotland stone of destiny, and the story has it that this is the stone of Scone in English. It's been used for the crowning of the Scottish kings throughout history. And the legend says that another name for it is Jacob's pillow, and it was supposedly used as a pillow by Jacob, the patriarch, when he had a dream of angels. This stone in some way came into the possession of Guy Telos, the Pharaoh from Egypt, as we said, after the exodus of the tribes of Israel. And when he was exiled from Egypt, he took the stone on his long journey to Iberia. Ultimately, the descendants of Guy Telos and SCOTA took the stone to Ireland and established it there as a seat or throne in Tara. The stone was brought to Scotland from Ireland by King Fergus in the 5th century AD. He was crowned on the stone, and the legend has it that the Irish monk missionary Saint Columba brought the stone to the island of Iona of Scotland on the 6th century. Saint Columba, when he was young, in the monastery, in the church of his monastery, locked himself in the church one night in order to copy by hand the book of the Psalms. When his abbot found this out, he demanded that Columba stop writing, stop copying the Psalms, and come out immediately. Columba refused. The next day, they were brought in front of the local lord of the area, who allowed Columba to keep his copy. Is this hero and one of my beloved saints, Saint Columba, who brought Christianity to Scotland. This is the type of people that they were, and the type of heroes they were, and the love of Christ that they had. Fantastic story. I'll leave links below for you for this.